Hey everyone, welcome back to another dividend investing video. And actually, normally we're all about dividend investing, but today's topic really goes beyond our usual topics in dividend growth investing. Today is the first in a small series of videos I'm putting out about investing for our children, or our grandchildren, or nieces and nephews, basically the young people in our lives. Look, those of us who are parents, there is nothing more important to us than our children, and investing for them can be extremely rewarding. In today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the top 5 holdings I have in my own child's custodial account. And again, I don't necessarily take a dividend growth investing approach here like I do in my own main accounts, but I look at a lot of the same things when evaluating investments. This will hopefully give you some ideas on how you can invest for your own children. And let me know down in the comments if you're investing for your kids, what is it you're buying? I'm Nick, and this is the Dividend Growth Income Channel. Thank you for joining me today. I'm not a financial advisor or guru. I'm just a regular guy who wants to share my love of dividend growth investing and building financial independence with passive income. If you could, please do me a favor, smash the like button and subscribe to keep up with future videos. This helps us out more than you can imagine with the algorithm, so we can bring you more quality dividend investing content. So about 2 years ago, I opened a UGMA custodial account with E-Trade as a way to try to put some investments to work for my daughter. She is almost 12, so a very long time horizon, especially if I can convince her to let this money go to work for the next 30 years. So it could be her ticket to an early retirement and guarantee her financial security with the right choices. Now today I'm going to share the top 5 investments I've been buying in this account. I'm not suggesting this is the best way to do it, but it's one way to do it, and hopefully it will inspire you with ideas and ways you can invest for your own children. And stick around till the end, I'll give you a few more ideas that, while I'm not buying at this time, I think make a lot of sense for a young person's account. And one more thing, just remember, you have to prioritize yourself. If you invest for your kids and not yourself, and you're left with nothing in retirement, your kids are going to be stuck taking care of you anyway, so you've got to make sure you are covered first. So the first and largest weighted equity in my child's account is the ETF SPLG. This is the Spider Portfolio S&P 500 ETF. This is an underrated ETF, and I love this ETF, honestly. What it does is it tracks the S&P 500, just like more popular choices like Vanguard's VOO or State Street's SPY or iShares IVV. These 4 ETFs are practically identical. They do the same thing. Now, what's different about SPLG is it has a lower share price. Right now, shares are trading around $50. And since I don't have access to fractional shares within eShares, this makes an incredibly convenient way to put money into this broad market index, the S&P 500, if I just want to put in $50 or $100 in this account. It has a very low expense ratio, 0.03%, same exact as VOO, next to nothing in the scheme of things. Like the S&P 500, this is the top 500 publicly traded companies on the American stock market. This is the largest weighted investment in this account. I aim to keep it around 50% of the account. This keeps a nice chunk of my kiddo's portfolio. Is simply tracking the broad market. Rather than try to beat the market, we're going to be the market. This has historically been a very fruitful way to invest, averaging a 10% return annually over the long stretch. And I think any investor who isn't taking advantage of a broad market index like this, even a total stock market index like VTI, is shooting themselves in the foot. Now, doing a holdings breakdown, the S&P is very tech heavy. It's 28.42% in tech, followed by 13.81% in healthcare and 12.10% in financials. Here is what the top 10 of SPLG looks like right now. And these are the top 10 largest publicly traded American companies by market cap. The top holding is Apple Inc., ticker AAPL, followed by Microsoft Corporation, ticker MSFT. These two companies together make up nearly 15% of the market cap of the top 500 companies. That's just how massive these two are. Now the next is Amazon at just over 3%, Nvidia at 2.67%, Alphabet Inc. Class A at 2.08%, Alphabet Inc. Class C at 1.82%. So Google gets 2 slots, and it's larger than both Amazon. It just simply has few different classes of shares. And then the top 10 are rounded out with Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, Tesla, and United Health Group. And of course, this always changes, but the nice thing about investing in this type of ETF is it handles all that weighting for us. And SPLG does pay about a 1.5% dividend. That's the S&P 500's market dividend. And dividend growth for the S&P 500 has been about 6% on average over the last 5 years. So yeah, I think an S&P 500 index makes a ton of sense for investors, especially a young investor like kids who have a ton of time on their side. And if you happen to have an account without fractional shares and you're just making small contributions here and there, SPLG is a great place for that money. Of course, whether you pick SPLG, SPY, VOO, IVV, makes little to no difference. It's the S&P 500. Now, the second largest equity in my kiddo's account is SCHD, the Charles Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF. It's another ETF. This is the most popular dividend-focused ETF out there. Follows the U.S. Dividend 100 index, yielding about 3.68% right now, and it boasts a dividend growth track record of over 15% annually over the last 5 years. I'm making this about 20 to 25% of this custodial account. The idea here is to bring in some dividend income into the account that could be used for reinvestment. It also adds a nice value component to the portfolio. It generally does meet, or at least comes close to meeting what the S&P 500 does. So this is the perfect complement to my SPLG purchases, which is my largest holding. In fact, here is the 5-year total return chart. And when we're in a bull market, the S&P will be doing better. And when we are in a bear market, SCHD will be doing better. And I'm going heavier on the S&P side in this account because, look, the kid's 12. We have time on our side. Here's the top 10 of what SCHD looks like right now. Lots of solid dividend stocks, the kinds we love to talk about on this channel, and I own many of these. The largest holding is Broadcom. Broadcom has soared in the last few months, ballooning up to 5.25% of the fund. Then we have Pepsi, Merck, Cisco Systems, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Texas Instruments, Pfizer, Chevron, and Amgen Inc. Those 10 funds make up 42% of the weight of SCHD, pretty heavy on that top 10. But there are 90 other dividend-paying stocks as well in the fund. And here is the breakdown by sector. Industrials are heaviest at 17.43%, healthcare at 16%, and financials at 14%. There's no real estate, very little exposure to utilities, only 0.28%. There are many other dividend ETFs out there, but SCHD is by far my favorite. You get this great mix of holdings managed for you for only a 0.06% expense ratio. And when I decided I wanted a dividend component in this account, I didn't think twice about what that option would be anything other than SCHD. I don't need to go into this one all that much more because we've covered it plenty. The third largest equity in my kiddo's account, the final ETF I'm buying, is QQQM. QQQM is a NASDAQ 100 ETF, practically identical to the more popular QQQ. It differs from QQQ in a couple ways. First, it has a lower expense ratio. The 0.15% expense ratio is an improvement on QQQ's expense ratio of 0.2%. QQQM has a considerably lower share price at $145 versus $354. And like with SPLG, I don't have fractional shares in this particular account, and so I am prioritizing that lower share price. Now, if you check, these two funds perform exactly the same because they track the NASDAQ 100. And since I'm not trading options in this account, going with QQQM over QQQ makes sense, since I'm also going to save on that expense ratio. Now, these top three positions, SPLG, SCHD, and QQQM, they make up about 90% of this account. It's very heavy on these ETFs. Now, here is the top 10 of QQQM right now. Notice many of his top holdings are also top holdings in the S&P 500, but the tech companies are weighted higher here. An extremely tech-heavy fund with more than 50% of the NASDAQ as tech stocks, right? Microsoft at 13%, Apple at 12% of the fund, and Amazon at 7% of the fund. Then we have Nvidia, Meta, Alphabet, Tesla, Broadcom, and Pepsi. The fund has 103 holdings total, but those top 10, that makes about 59% of the fund, and the NASDAQ is up huge year to date, about 33%. It's done really well. The holdings in here are all large cap growth stocks, and the 10-year total return from the NASDAQ about doubles what the S&P 500 has returned. That's 427% over the last 10 years versus the S&P 500's 216%. So a NASDAQ or other growth-oriented fund could really make a lot of sense for a child account, where the time horizon is longer and you have more risk tolerance, right? If you can stomach that volatility. Right now, it makes up about 15% of the portfolio. Like I said, making these three ETFs I'm talking about 90% of the account. All right, so the next two picks I'm going to go over are stocks I buy in this account when I think they're at a compelling price. So the fourth largest holding in my kiddo's custodial account is the Kroger company, ticker KR. This is a grocery store retailer. It's the third largest in the U.S. behind Amazon and Walmart. One thing I like about Kroger is it's a company my kiddo knows and understands. This is where we do the majority of our grocery shopping, and we go there all the time. and it's pretty easy for a 12-year-old to understand their business model. And what I'm doing is I'm putting into the practice of investing in the places where we spend our money. And whenever I buy this stock in the account, I show her. Right now it makes up about 3 to 4% of the kiddo's portfolio. I think Kroger is an exceptionally solid dividend growth stock, probably at least one of my top 3 in the consumer staples sector. They're operating in an industry that does well in recessions and during times of inflation and other economic madness. And I set this one on drip, and I add to it whenever it is attractive. And actually, I'm going to probably be adding another share or 2 in the account this week. I just put out a video out on my top picks for June, and Kroger is in that list, so I'll encourage you to check that video out for more information on why I think it's compelling right now and why I love it as a dividend growth investment. Now, one thing I didn't show in that video that you guys like is a comparison of Kroger versus the S&P 500 historically, so let's quickly look at Kroger from a total return perspective. This is from Seeking Alpha, by the way, and if you're at all interested in trying out their premium membership, you can use the link in my description and you get a 14-day free trial with no obligation to just try it out and see if you like it. And that is a great way to help support the work we do here. Now, the 5-year total return for Kroger is 100%, which beats out the near 69% total return from the S&P 500. And if you look at the 10-year total return versus the S&P performance is practically identical. Investing in either would have brought you about a 216% total return on your initial investment. So I buy Kroger for my kiddo because she knows and understands her business. They're a defensive play with market-beating returns over the last 5 years. They feature double-digit dividend growth, aggressive share buyback, and are forecast to continue growing. All right, the 5th largest holding in my daughter's custodial account. It doesn't pay a dividend at all, actually. It's Uber Technologies, ticker UBER. Uber is a company that provides mobility services, food delivery, and freight transport. It only makes up about 2 to 3% of the portfolio, and I like the risk-reward proposition with Uber. And hey, it's not often I get to talk about stocks like this, right? But yeah, I buy it for the growth potential. 10 years down the road, I think Uber stock price is likely to be much higher just given the nature of their business and where they are in the world. And my kiddo is young enough to handle the volatility and risk that comes with owning stocks like this. And I think my child's account makes a ton of sense to have more risk-reward plays like this. And shares of Uber have shot up year-to-date almost 60%. Wall Street analysts are extremely bullish on the future of this company. It is rated a strong buy, 4.56 out of 5. Out of 46 analysts, 30 rated a strong buy, 12 a buy, and 4 a hold. And the average analyst price target is nearly $50 as well, which represents 22% upside from where shares are today. And I don't know if the stock's a buy now. I was buying it more 6 months ago when it was in the high 20s. And dividend stocks are really more my thing, but I personally invest in some stocks that don't pay dividends like this, especially if I can see a clear picture of where that company could be in 5 to 10 years. And I see fundamentals there. So I'm not suggesting this is necessarily something you want to be buying for your own kids, just to give you the ideas of the types of investments that might work in your kiddo's own accounts. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the majority of the money here in broad market indices and ETFs for diversification. And then I'm adding in an appropriate mix of what I think are growth and value for the account of this kind of time frame. And let me give you guys a few more ideas, stocks I like in a child's account. I don't hold these in the account at this time, but these are all stocks I've considered and I keep on the watch list. Right, the first is Amazon, ticker AMZN. Also, no dividend paying, but one of these years you have to imagine they're going to begin paying one, right? And this would give you a nice yield on cost and your initial yield on cost. But it is impossible to deny how entrenched they are in the world, as they pose a threat to almost every other company or industry in some direct or indirect way. So look what a rumor of them starting cell phone services did to AT&T and Verizon stocks just last week when they cratered on that news. So sort of a you can't beat them, join them sort of thing. Returns from Amazon have been smashing the broad market. What's kept me from adding this to my kiddo's account is that we're already quite heavy with Amazon in both SPLG and QQQM, so it kind of feels a little redundant. But I do love the idea of Amazon in a kid's account. Another good option is Disney, another non-dividend paying stock. It did pay a dividend at one time, and earlier in the year, management has announced intentions to reinstate their dividend. I think this one makes sense in a child's account because it's highly likely they're familiar with and even enjoy some of Disney's brands, and definitely their theme parks. It helps making investing more exciting for your young ones. And if you have investment in things they love and enjoy, I think that can help. Another great option, I think, is the Vanguard Total International Stock Market Index Fund ETF, ticker VXUS. This is the one I'm most likely to begin adding into the account. It's trading around $56. This gives you access to all the markets outside the US. And while US stocks have had a stronger decade than international stocks, History shows that international stocks will at some point outperform US stocks once again, and this is one fantastic way to add that exposure with instant diversification at a very low expense ratio of 0.07%. And shares of VXUS are yielding 2.88%, significantly higher than the dividend returns from your VOO, VTI, the US broad market indices. So I hope sharing what I buy for my daughter has given you some ideas. Thanks for sticking around. In the next video for this series, I'm going to cover the different types of accounts that are available to use as vehicles to invest for the young people in our lives, and tell you the pros and cons from my own perspective of each option. And there are a ton of options out there. And be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that, please. And have a wonderful day. Until next time, keep investing.